Nasanay tayo na talaba lang, iluluto, iniihaw. Pero yung raw na kinakain mo na galing sa Pilipinas is something very special and we're very much proud of.
Oysters have something called mer roi. It's a French term. Mer meaning ocean and roi from the origin.
Kung saan mo siya ginrow, yun yung kinapture niyang merwa.
I think that Philippine seafood is amazing, absolutely amazing, some of the best on earth.
As an archipelago, the Philippines is ideal for oyster farming. In 2020, the Philippines produced over 53,000 metric tons of oysters, valued at 1 billion pesos. According to the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, top producers include Aklan, Capiz, Iloilo, Negros Occidental, Bulacan, and Cavite. Today, the local demand for these plump and flavorful mollusks still exceeds supply. Fortunately, there are people and organizations rallying behind the Philippine oyster. One of them is Daniel Ko, a Manila-based chef, seafood purveyor, and restaurateur. Having cut his claws at some of the mainstays where seafood is known to be king, Daniel swears by the quality of Philippine oysters, some of which he serves at his bistro.
I'm Daniel Ko, the owner of Alaska Prime Seafood and also Kokomo Restaurant here in BF Homes Parañaque. I'm originally from the United States, but ethnically Chinese and Korean. And I came to the Philippines about 5 years ago after having lived in Bangkok, Thailand for the previous 18 years. When I was living in Thailand, I decided to go out and embark on my own. I decided to do what I was most passionate about and what I knew most about, and that is great seafood. And then that led me here to the Philippines eventually, and I started Alaska Prime Seafood. Alaska Prime Seafood was a concept where I felt there was a gap in the market at the time for live, premium, cold water seafood. I actually built out a facility in Mandaluyong, but we had tanks, and in there was cold seawater. We would actually use marine chillers to make the water go from 0 to 3 degrees Celsius. For me, great seafood always starts with freshness. It's got to be fresh, but it also has to be handled really well. Because one of the issues with great seafood, getting it from the remote provinces where it's caught and handling it properly so that it gets to market properly. And that's where a lot of help is needed. These are what I call the Tayabas Bay premium local oysters. So I have a really good customer in Quezon City. He's always ordering oysters from Japan from me, but he asked me, hey, do you know about this great local oyster? And I was like, well, I know about Aklan oysters and things like that. He's like, well, this one is called Tayabas oyster, and I have the contact. I'd love for you to try it. So he was nice enough to order it for me, my customer. So he got a sample shipment from me. I opened them up, and I was really impressed. Super briny. Oysters are interesting because oysters have something called mer roi. It's a French term. Mer meaning ocean and roi from the origin. Where the oysters are grown, the salinity of the water, the temperature, even the currents and things like that makes a huge impact in terms of the quality and the taste of these oysters. So an Aklan oyster, a Tayabas Bay oyster, Irish oyster, a Japanese oyster, they will all taste radically different because, again, the impacts of the mer roi. So we recommend a flight of oysters to all our customers. Say, try the oysters from Aklan, try the oysters from Tayabas, try the Japanese oysters, try the European oysters, try the American oysters. So it's really fun to try oysters from different parts of the world and different waters. The nice thing about Tayabas Bay, even though they're a tropical oyster, and the reason why I'm so high on these oysters, other than the fact that they depurate them, they also seem to have a much brinier flavor. So I actually compare these local oysters to excellent European and US oysters. I think they're at that level.
To better understand Tayabas Bay oysters, we made a visit to Agriculture Sustainability Initiatives for Nature Incorporated, or ASIN in San Juan, Batangas. Through their project called Talaba Talabes, ASIN hopes to bridge the gap between producers and consumers of local oysters, using science and technology, community involvement, and collaboration among stakeholders. Neon Rosel II, one of the co-founders of ASIN, tells us more about their process of cultivating oysters.
Ang oyster hatchery, dito pinapaanak yung oyster, tapos inaalagaan yung mga similya nila hanggang sa punto na malalagay na sila sa dagat. Ito yung hatchery ay pagmayari ng asin, kaya natayo itong asin para mag-establish ng panibagong source ng oyster kung saan walang historical data na nagka-red tide, which is itong Tayabas Bay. Ang problema, para mapabilis yung proseso, kailangan lagyan ng madaming oyster kagad. Kaya napag-isipan namin na magtayo ng oyster hatchery. Itong hatchery, tinatanggal yung seasonality ng oyster production. We can produce oyster anytime. Dito sa oyster hatchery, ang umpisa, namimili kami ng broodstock na papaitlogin. Once na paitlog namin at saka na-fertilize, larval stage muna, 2 weeks silang nandito na pinapakain namin. Kailangan palitan yung water every 2 days para ma-maintain yung water quality. Kailangan dumaan sa sieve na iba-iba yung sizes para malaman namin yung growth rate nila. After 2 weeks, mag-ano na sila, stage nila na tinatawag na pedivelliger. Ang ibig sabihin ng pedi, may paana. Maghahanap na ng substrate kung saan sila titigil na sila, magiging oyster na sila. Sasalain sila, sabay ilalagay dito sa mga downweller. Dito sa downweller, yung pedivelliger, lumalangoy pa yun sila. Dito sa loob, merong pinumbuhangin kung saan sila magsiset. After 1 week, ito na sila, single oysters na. Pag kumapit na sila, aalagaan sila ng konti dito, tapos ilalagay na dapat sila sa nursery. Yung nursery, doon papalakihin pa sila hanggang mga 1 inch. Pwede nang ilagay sa basket, dadali na sa grow out. Yung grow out, yun yung mga areas na napapasukan ng tidal flow na pwedeng lagyan ng oyster. Next na stage, dahil sinabi kong pinapakain namin, pinapalaki namin yung pagkain nila, inaalagaan din namin. Yung oyster, sa dagat, kumakain niya ng mga phytoplankton ang tawag. May mga species kaming inaalagaan para ma-maximize yung health at saka growth ng oyster. Kailangan ng phytoplankton ng araw para dumami. Ito yung outside culture. Meron kaming inside culture na aseptic lab. Climate control tong area para ma-maintain yung optimal growing conditions ng larvae. Bali, ito yung mga starter. Nasa 1 liter. After mag-multiply sila, nag-iiba yung color, nagiging darker. Kung may tamang count na, ililipat na dito sa mas malaking container. After dito sa 10 liter container, pag maganda na yung count, ililipat sila dito sa pag-grow out. Ito naman yung stock culture kung saan kumukuha ng maliit na culture para ilagay dito sa starter. Lahat ng tubig na ginagamit dito sa facility ay galing dito. Mula sa dagat, 33 parts per thousand yung salinity. Ang optimal na salinity na kung saan magandang laki ng oysters is 25 ppt. So, mula sa dagat, pupunta dito, tapos dadagdagan namin ng fresh water para magawang 25 ppt. Ito naman yung tinatawag na cultures. Ito rin yung shell ng oyster na nagamit na yung laman. Ito ginagamit sa natural growing method. Isasabit to sa rafts. Sabay natural spot fall, dito kakapit yung mga talabang naturally. Ito naman yung setup ng depuration na tinatawag. Tinatanggal namin yung laman ng gut niya. At the same time, malinis yung tubig, filtered para matanggal lahat ng pathogens. At saka pag na-evacuate nila yung gut nila, wala nang laman, mas tumatagal yung shelf life. Ito yung final product ng hatchery, single oysters. To make sure na yung quality ng oyster is buhay sila lahat, tutok-tukin lang. Pag matinis yung tunog, ibig sabihin may laman na fluid yung oyster at buhay siya. Tapos pag nilagay dito sa container, dapat nakaayon yung bottom cup niya nasa taas para ma-retain yung water sa loob. Kaya may parang dampener dito na ma-maintain yung yung position niya. Ito po si Sir Ruel, siyang nagdadala sa Manila ng mga depurated oysters.
So we try to harvest mga at least 2 to 3 times a week. Very selective pa kami sa customers right now kasi we're trying to practice sustainable. And as you know, one oyster minimum 1 year.
Pinapa-increase lang naman talaga namin yung yung volume ng oyster sa Tayabas Bay. At the same time, hindi maubusan ng supply kung magka-problema sa ibang lugar. Kasi ngayon, na-over-harvest yung mga broodstock. So, walang enough parent oysters para i-populate ulit yung area. So, kung meron kang hatchery, malalagyan mo agad ng so many oysters. In the future, pag maganda na yung production ng seed, we can sell seeds doon na sa basket. So, anybody can deploy it anywhere in the sea. Yun ang goal namin, na sustainable na producing single shell at saka quality oysters.
We also met with Hillel Cabria, a SIN co-founder, who was scheduled to check on the baskets of oysters farmed in the brackish waters of the Bambang River in Pinagbayanan, San Juan, Batangas.
Nandito tayo ngayon sa ilog na kung tawagin ay Bambang sa Barangay Pinagbayanan at makikita ninyo ngayon yung mga baskets na ang laman ay mga talaba. Kung mapapansin ninyo, yung farm natin ngayon, yung mga baskets, nakalagay sila sa tabi ng mga mangroves. Ang mangroves kasi ay nabubuhay din usually sa mga bunganga ng ilog paglabas nito sa may dagat. So ito yung tinatawag na brackish water. Kailangan nila dito yung halong tabang at saka may halong alat.
Among those that ASIN has helped are small independent oyster farmers like Jay Coronel, who receive spawns for cultivation.
Ako nga po pala si Jay Coronel, presidente po ako ng Samahang Magtatalaban ng Barangay Pinagbayanan. Sa pool naman kasi, nung kami ay bata pa, siyempre dito kami na lumaki sa talabahan. Dito kami talagang kumukuha ng pangkabuhayan. Masayang medyo mahirap, kahit medyo kaunti pa lang naman ang kita kasi hindi pa namang kalakihan yung sa aming Ang kitaan po sa talaba kasi halos 1 year po bago kami makaharvest niyan 8 to 1 year depende po sa lalaki ng talaba at saka sa dami ng aming hinaharvest. Binigyan po kami ni Sir Neo, ni Sir Hillel at saka ni Sir Emoy ng remote set. Tapos isinabit namin po diyan, tapos sigurado na po yung kumbaga lalaki na lang. Hindi na po kami nagkukuha pa ng similya na para kumano yun, talaga meron na. Basta lang lalaki siya.
From ASIN's hatchery, Roel Chan of 7 Days of Greens brings premium Tayabas Bay oysters to Mitsukoshi Fresh in Taguig, a Japanese concept grocery store offering curated products from the best sources around the world.
We've traveled more than 3 hours. So aga natin nagising, alas 5, binyahe natin from Manila. We went to the hatchery and then come back same day. We do that at least 3 times a week to bring the most fresh oyster that Manila could get. I'm Roel Chan from 7 Days of Greens. We started with organic vegetables since 2015. Then from the organic vegetables, which we also represent in this store, we recently ventured into aquaculture. We are the distribution and retail partner of Tayabas Bay Oysters. What's special about this little booth, all of those jumbo, super jumbo, the bigger size, you can actually only find them here. And then of course, we try to offer as many variety as possible. So we're the only one who have 4 sizes. We're doing the French sizing. 0, 1, 2, 3 yung sinusundan namin. The smaller the number, the bigger the oyster. And we also supply meat only. And the thing is, since we are a hatchery-grown oysters and it's depurated, it's a sashimi-grade oyster. The foreigners who have tasted the finest oyster in the world love it. May laban talaga yung oyster natin. For the oyster na kinukuha natin, hindi tayo pumapayag ng hindi siya depurated. The way we handle it, the way we store it, it's assure us na from as fresh from the farm, as clean it is, pagdating sa transport, pagdating sa display, malinis siya. Loob at labas. So food safety is always paramount. So ang Tayabas Bay oyster is a single-grown oyster and meron din tayong clump oyster. So si clump oyster, yan yung traditional na lumalaki siya sa tali or sa bamboo. So there's nothing wrong with that, walang issue sa flavor niya. Pero kung makikita niyo yung difference ng isang single grown, since hatchery tayo, nag-grow natin siya ng 1 shell at a time. So anong advantage nun is mas malalim yung cup to meat ratio. Mas malalim tong cup, mas malaki yung meat na makukuha natin sa loob. Ang flavor profile ng Tayabas Bay oyster, not too briny, hint of sweetness because of the fat content, and very clean finish. Yun yung pinaka-importante. Hindi siya malansa, malinis siya. So this is something that's very different kasi nasanay tayo na talaba lang, diluluto, iniihaw. Pero yung raw na kinakain mo na galing sa Pilipinas na hindi imported is something very special and we're very much proud of. And we're doing our best to grow more of that and to bring it closer sa mga customer natin.
We also spoke to Takato Ishimoto, head of Mitsukoshi Fresh, about their commitment to promoting top-tier Philippine ingredients alongside the world's finest.
My name is Takato Ishimoto. I'm in charge of the Mitsukoshi Fresh. So, of course, as a Japanese department store origin supermarket, we have many kinds of the Japanese product imported from Japan. But in the same time, we also want to highlight the good item from the Philippines. So one of our partner is a 7 Days Green. Actually, we have started to deal with them about the oyster and the organic vegetable as well. Those products is very clean and the safety, so that we have more confidence to promote to the customer. Actually, taste is very nice, and also the quality is very good. I'm very happy to introduce this kind of product, and also there is more potential rather than that these products we already have. So I also want to look for more product, and I want to visit more local area to find a good ingredient or a good brand of the Philippines as well.
With 7,000 islands, being an archipelago nation, the seafood in the Philippines is diverse. The only issue is we need help improving the logistics and the handling of such great, I would call treasures, to make sure that we maintain them as treasures by the time they get to market.
Malaking chance yung paglaki ng industry na to. Meron ng available seeds. Anybody can grow their own oysters anywhere basta malagay lang sa dagat. Gusto namin palakihin yung industry talaga.
Ang pangarap ko po sa amin sa Mahang Magtatalaba, mapaunlad po namin ang aming industriya ng talaba, makaabot kung saan bayan. At marami po kami mga-produce na talaba.
So if you imagine that we have 7,000 islands, and that 7,000 islands is possible to have 7,000 unique flavors where you can taste your oyster. So it's not a competition. In fact, it's all about tasting all the different merwa of oyster. And the most important part there, if na-realize yun ng tao na there is that unique thing na dun lang sa kanila makukuha, we hope that they will take care of their environment. Kasi yun yung ina-absorb na lasa ng oyster. The oyster is a reflection of how we took care of the environment where it's grown and the craftsmanship that goes into this.
I think that Philippine seafood is amazing, absolutely amazing. Some of the best on earth.